Hello, hello, and happy Monday to everybody. And we are here today with the free weekly reading for the stars and the cards. And this is probably going to be one of the more important weeks, especially of this month, but I'd almost say of this quarter. And it's not because of what's happening in the stars, but we will get to that as we dive into the reading. I need to find, oh, there we go. I need to find this so I can share it. So I am liking Be Live. I know Melinda and I have been talking a lot about it in the comments on my videos this past week, but it's fun, and it's fun to be able to show your comments and get everybody engaged. I feel like I do a lot of talking on these, and it's not really my whole purpose. My whole purpose is to make sure you are getting the message that you need to hear right now. Sharing this. How has the new year been treating you? You know, for it being a quiet month, it has certainly brought up a lot of interesting things on my end. But as I was talking last week in some of my videos, that's just kind of the way it goes. Sometimes when we hit those quiet spaces where things are not so heavily influenced, where the universe doesn't have one particular agenda or not, like if Venus is in play, we're looking at our relationships, we're looking at our relationships to what and whom we love. It doesn't have that particular thrust. It feels kind of scattered and hodgepodge about what does come up. And I don't know who else, so I'll just leave it at that. Oh. Hey, Haley, how are you? If I actually flip over to the Be Live. Aha. Still getting used to this. Yay, that was fun. So this week ahead, particularly the 7 days until next Sunday that I do these readings for, we're going to see a good smattering of energies. There's going to be some Venus work, so that there will be a little bit of attuning to what we love, and lots of Mercury work going on still. Yes, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, Haley. How has your, oh good, you're doing wonderful. I feel like I am really just starting anew with this whole year. Everything. Life, kids, school, all the relationships that are going on. It's like, all right, now that I've made some big changes, what's going on? So what themes are coming up for you, Haley? And as you're typing, I will just continue here. There's a smattering of energies. And these aren't like the big things because we have no planets in retrograde right now. So these are just like the little things as they come up throughout the day, which is why it's going to feel so scattered. But we're still experiencing a lot of Mercury stuff because only on Thursday are we going to come completely out of the shadow of the Mercury retrograde. And a lot of you probably have been thinking that maybe it's time to take some action on those things that you've been thinking about and reattuning to over this past month or these past 6 weeks or so, as we've come into the more active phase of that whole Mercury retrograde thing. And now is the time. This week is the time. And it's not because this week is going to be perfect. It's not going to be because this week is um, going to present us with those golden opportunities where we think like, all right, this finally came into being, so now I can move on with the rest of stuff. So Haley says, big things with work and travel, son back to school, and big things for my health. Yeah. And that's and I'm happy you feel on top of it. Right now, I still have to get to that point where I feel on top of it. And that's the huge difference. And that's what's going to make this week work for everybody is that feeling of capability, of coming into wholeness with it. You know, because I'm seeing things that I want happen. And this week is the week of the manifestor. And it's not necessarily because we're going to see all our results this week, but it's because we're going to really come to that space where we understand what has to be done, what has to be tackled in our daily lives to make these things flow, to make the dreams manifest, to start living that dream stuff on a daily basis. And that doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable, especially with the scattered light things that are going to be coming up with Mercury finally coming out of retrograde and all that. And we have a little bit before Mercury retrograde comes in again. But what's going to happen before that is the eclipse season. So we really need like these next 2.5 weeks before the total lunar eclipse to really set this energy and the things we need to change right now in our daily lives into a habit, into a pattern, into some kind of plan, for lack of a better word, so that when things start heating up again, when things start shifting and changing with the eclipse, we're going to be able to be more on the ball, to be more present, more in center. So we're coming at, like I keep saying, we're just coming out of the Mercury retrograde. Wow, words in me today. Mercury. But also Uranus. Now that Uranus is direct, we're really going to have to start tuning into the calling that these two things are bringing into our lives. And that's to really look at what's holding us back. And for me, at least, is presenting on a very visible and very, very like daily moment to moment kind of thing. Those little things that are getting you off track this week, we have to be present within ourselves. But we have to learn to start speaking our truth and holding our own truth about those things. So like these next 2 weeks, while they are the week of the manifestor, it's because we are being called to like really look at our edges and really look at where the edges of our comfort zone do lie. And we might not be being called to, at this very moment, really expand or lean into all of those edges. This is giving us an opportunity to really set plans for the course of the year, to really look at what edges are coming up right now so that we know what we can slowly kind of lean into and which ones need to take a greater priority. That is what's going to be happening like this week and into next week. Next week, we're going to have some shift where things actually start happening. And we're going to start seeing the results because this isn't just a manifesting week. This is a manifesting year. But it's taking on this whole tone where it's going to be a moment by moment, day by day, very present kind of energy. And not so much where our heads are going to be continuously up in dreams trying to pull that down. We're going to have to learn how to take what we have and just work it from here, from this daily place of how can I help today? How can I move forward today? And how can I actually embody being that person who's coming into being, the person I will be at the end of accomplishing my dream, my set of manifestation goals, however you choose to look at that. But this is that week where we start saying and really seeing the disparity between where we want to be, who we know we are being called to be, and what is maybe not per se stopping us, but what is challenging us on a very daily living level. And if you need some shifts around that, go back to last week. Do watch the Daily Disconnect, the Daily Dream Disconnect video that I did do on that, because that's going to provide a little bit more insight as to how to be in center this week, how to approach that daily dream without necessarily feeling the burnout of having to hold everything all at once. And the burnout even of having to always be on the ball. Because especially this week, as we're looking at what's challenging us, as we're looking at where we're kind of not just stopping our flow, but dropping out of that very present place, you begin to see where your drains are. And you begin to see not just perhaps how you can reframe it, but perhaps even just a new way of thinking into the challenge that you're having with it. Maybe it's picking and choosing your battles a bit better, or maybe it's choosing to see a battle, or what you have previously thought of a battle, as something more of a negotiation point. Where can you both bend and change into this? Maybe it's more about seeking agreement than it is having to win the battle. Because one doesn't necessarily have to do with the other. But so what edges might you need to take a real stand on? And not all at once, and not necessarily a big battle way. But how can you hold your edges, hold your line? What lines might need to be pushed a little bit further so you can find comfort zone in a different place, in a place where you are more able to handle those challenges that are coming up, those things that are making us get out of center. How can, so it's you're either going to hold your line, or you're going to choose to expand and perhaps see a new way into it. But with the smattering of energy that we're going to have this week, a little bit of Venus, a little bit of Mercury, some Jupiter, it's really going to help us round out our opinions of where we are and where we could be if we make some tweaks on a daily level. Choosing to handle problems at a certain time so you can just be freer to handle your work blocks. Choosing to pre-plan some stuff so that you can focus more on the day-to-day, hi, how can I help you kind of stuff. Whatever it is, this is the week to start making those small tweaks. Because this is the week of the manifestor, we're manifesting those small tweaks so that we can manifest the dream. Manifest our ability to be more in that energy, in the daily moment. A little bit more, and you grow into yourself a little bit more. So while this is a time of peace, like I said before, that doesn't mean it's going to be comfortable. This means we're going to be able to see what is before us with more clarity than we saw before. And especially as we're coming into new moon next week on the 17th, all those external stuff, the external guidance that we rely on, a lot of it is going to be kind of muted. And we're really going to be able to come into what we think and what we feel in a bigger way. And I think we're really going to start having to deal with all that internal stuff that we've been kind of pushing through in 2017. And it's kind of like, it's going to hit us in a way where it's just like, I know I set some plans in place at the beginning of the year, but God, now I know this is the real work that has to be done this year. And it won't necessarily be, two different things. I think we're just going to come to a much deeper level with all of it. We're going to not just see the surface stuff that's going on. How do I stop, all the chaos in my household? Or how do I do this? How do I do that? All these little task things. I think we're really going to be able to see down to more of the root problem because we're going to see, like almost precisely where it's hitting us so that we can ease that root and create more movement in the other things then. But if you've been on top of your spiritual flow and you aren't feeling that kind of jagginess and you aren't feeling that, boy, this stuff needs to be cleared up ASAP kind of thing. If you've been riding the emotional and the spiritual waves and dealing with your integration, you're coming into wholeness, you might be feeling the peace. It might be feeling like things are moving. And you might be able to get that more of a sense of where things can go. And you are already in place and coming into a really good place of power as we're coming into the eclipse. So that's where I want us to be. That is where I would love for all of you beautiful people to be within this space of this week and next week as we come into this bigger and bigger energy. With the total, we have a total lunar eclipse coming, and it is a blue moon, and it is a super moon. So it's going to be big. But if we can shift a lot of the stuff that's going to be coming up in these next 2 weeks, if we can be on top of it, if we can say, you know what, this is coming up right now because it needs to come up right now, because it needs to show me where change needs to happen, then you are going to be in a very sweet spot for even the rest of this year. Because how we deal with that one eclipse at the beginning of the year, the eclipse season, beginning of the year sets the tone, not just until the next eclipse season when we're coming into the end of summer, but for the rest of the year. So, to help you come into center, I do have a little tip here. Especially this week, because it is a manifesting week, I really want you to question your base assumptions about all the challenges, all the little things that come up. Question whether it's you, question whether it's them, question whether it's, how can I do this better? Do I even need to be doing this, fighting this battle? Maybe it's like resistance to putting posts out. It doesn't matter what the topic is. What matters is where you are with it. So really question your base assumptions and bring those things into your daily practice. And really, when you're coming into center and you're connecting the light and you're raising your own vibe, bring those intentions in and see what exists when you're in center and in light in a completely different vibe. I mean, that is who you are. That is your divine potential right there. But see what actually exists. See what worries are actually there. See how the problem looks from that higher vibe, because it's not going to look the same as it looks when you're in the daily living of it. In the daily living of it, you're more likely to be caught up in ego and fear and caught up in past history. I've tried that a million times this way, and it has not gotten me the results I want to get to it. I want to get to. So I might as well give up. I might as well drop this. No, we still need to deal with our problems. We still need to deal with the challenges that are before us, things that are keeping us from really living powerfully. Because we need those lessons. We need to come into a greater wholeness. And the cards this week really do support that. They support that coming into wholeness, that ability to bring things to light, to see what is actually real versus what our minds just kind of make up around things, those stories we tell ourselves. And Lakshmi, ooh, wow, she's all glary. There we go. Lakshmi says, stop worrying. Everything is going to be fine. And to look forward to the bright future of it. And this is also the card that I drew for this month. So this week kind of epitomizes also the energy of this month. And the Enchanted Map deck asks or shows us that this week is the wishing well. So this is the week to say, this is the week to get in touch with those core desired feelings. Those energetic keys, as I like to call them in my dream casting work, the energetic keys to what you want to bring in. To really look at the disparity between, why am I always fighting about this? Why am I always struggling with this? This is how I want it to feel. To get that deep kind of root clarity on that. All because this is about justice. And that's not justice in the sense of karma, where there's reward and there's punishment. And most of manifestation, we kind of have to drop these ideas of good or bad, or I'm being punished, or I deserved that to go wrong, because that's not really what karma is. And that's not really what justice is about. It's not really about the judgment. It's about the cause and effect that we have created. The cause and effect based on our words, on our actions, and our thinking around something, around an event, around a topic in our lives, a challenge in our lives. And this week is really when you have to stop and just ask yourself, what karma are you bringing into this life through your thoughts and your actions and your words? Are you bringing your dream closer? Are you pulling that dream down and living from that space on a daily basis? Or are you bringing doubt closer? Are you bringing in old thinking, continually going over the past? Or are you bringing in new thinking? Are you coming into center? Committing to that wholeness so that you can bring in new thought, so that you can perhaps bring in that thought that will create the breakthrough that you're looking for. So while it's safe to dream this week and wish things could be different, we are the only ones who can make it be different. We have to be just to ourselves and our dreams and the things we are committed to bringing into being right now. And it's a big responsibility, but it doesn't have to be one that feels like a weight on our shoulders. Because everybody else needs to take responsibility for their own things too. So maybe this is the week where we also stop dropping our sense of people pleasing, our sense of having to meet people more than halfway, our sense of always having to make everybody else happy before we come into our own happiness, our own peace, our own acceptance with something in our lives. These next 2 weeks, the universe is going to get quiet. And next week, Jupiter in sextile with Pluto is really going to start bringing in a lot of the inner versus external harmony stuff. So if you don't quite have all the answers to where you need to be, what you need to change this week, don't worry. Maybe just record what you are experiencing this week. Record where you are experiencing discord, where you do come out of your integrity, out of your wholeness. Journal a little bit about it. But next week, we will certainly have bigger energy about really digging into what's going to untangle some of that root wound. Because these are wounds that we're talking about. So that things can gain more flow as we're coming into eclipse. And that wholeness, it really is the key, because it's the only way we're going to be able to get the energy, to be able to make the breakthroughs, to be able to bring in the better answers, to be able to free ourselves from the struggle we are experiencing. And if you don't have that daily practice behind you, if you don't have rites of being, like I call them, because it's not just about one spiritual daily practice. It's about all those little actions you do to support your energy throughout the day, in the week, in the month, in the year, to really focus in on your moment-to-moment experience, your day-to-day experience, because it's the only place we have to live our dreams. We cannot wait to live our dreams some point in the future. That point will never come if we don't choose it, and if we don't do it now, if we don't do right by it now, justice. Because our greatest changes happen in the moment, when we keep saying yes, almost like doing rosary or doing mala or doing a prayer. Yes, I choose this now. Yes, I choose this now. Because what we do in the face of the storms, those things that get us off course, those things that get us a little bit out of our integrity, out of our alignment, out of our wholeness, what we do in the face of those storms is important, because it's going to show us where we need to align with new thought and new feeling, where we need to come into our light a little bit more this time around. And it's that growth cycle, that personal growth, that is what is important. I mean, sure, you can put your dreams on your calendar, you can break it down into an action plan. But if you aren't committing to that daily growth, you're going to get off track. You're going to get derailed. You're going to meet resistance left, right, and up and down and sideways. And you're not necessarily going to be able to address the root, because you're never coming in to be with it. You're just dealing with it on a daily reaction level. This is about becoming really present in the moment with what you're doing, in alignment with how you want to live. And too often we jump to the conclusion when things get hard that we have to negotiate and we have to settle, and that the world is forcing us to be this way or the other way, or to accept something that we don't like. But the storm is rarely what we think it is on the outset. What we think on the outset, when we're coming into a storm and we see this problem on the horizon, is usually just what fear is not allowing us, but what fear is bringing up for us. That fear is intuitive guidance as well. All of your emotions are. And that fear is just showing you where you need to grow, where you need to lean into a little bit more loving energy in your life to bring in a new result, a new way of thinking about things. And if this is resonating with you, then you might get a lot of benefit out of the dream casting of your class that I'm going to be launching, or the doors open for it on the 15th. You can get some early bird pricing right now at $50 for the class, and that also gets you some monthly support for dream casting your year. Now, this is an intuitive planning system. It's not just a planner. It's not just a class on how to be conscious and how to be present and aware. It's kind of this very, very holistic and deep concept of how to bring in those energies in your daily life, in your weekly life, and all those little moments, so that you can live powerfully, so that you don't have to do all the struggle around the resistance that you have toward getting some tasks done, toward fixing some of your relationships, toward making the changes you know you might need to make, but you don't know how to make them. It's more than even just making sure that you have a daily practice in place, because this is about you learning or committing to the learning process for understanding your creative and your intuitive process, because what we need on a daily basis, each day is going to be new. We might not need the same meditation we needed the day before. We might need something new, because we're going to be in a different place. It's a new moment. And as you're coming into that understanding of some days I need a little bit of this and some days I need a little bit of that, you begin to see these patterns in where you are and how you're facing your challenges that are going to help you clear your energy up faster, clear up the fuzzies, clear up the unclarity, clear up the resistance. And it's going to get you flowing so much more easily and so much more organically that it's almost going to feel like a rebirth. And with dream casting, this isn't something where you have to suck it up. There is no such thing as suck it up in that sense. You have to love the necessary hard work, but you're always going to be coming from that place where you're or seeking your energetic keys, those core desired feelings. So you're going to stop beating yourself up over, today was a bad day. Bad days happen. Weird things do happen. Random things do happen. And it's not always your fault, and it's not always in your control. And as you're building your positive energy bank through some sort of daily practice, through the practices that you feel are worth your time and investment, you'll be able to have the clarity around that to say, that may have happened, but here's what I want. Here's where I feel loved, and this is where I'm going to invest my time today. And it's going to feel good. And you're going to want to go back and dreamcast more and more throughout your life because it will feel good and because you are going to start seeing results on a bigger and bigger level because you will have more energy, mind, body, soul energy, not just one or the other, to be able to handle more growth and more expansion. So I will drop the link to the free resource I have around this. It is a free manifestation tool. It is a meditation that I use every day, and it is especially helpful in the beginning when you might be a little low on your positive energy bank, because that's half the problem with beginning new year and new resolutions and new goals, is we come at it from this place of depletion, especially after all the holidays, especially after all the stuff that we had to do in December and closing shop and doing our yearly review, and especially if you haven't met your goals from last year. You're going to be coming at this whole new space from a place of what's going to make this year really different, what's actually going to make it this year. And that's not the space or the energy level that you need to be at. You need to be already in a positive energy flow, not a deficit flow. So this meditation will help get you that growth flow. It will get you out of the deficit so that you can start getting the clarity and start taking the small decisions and actions you actually need to take. So the class does start on the 15th. Early bird pricing ends that day. It will go up to $75 after the 15th. And let me drop the link so you can get that free resource, that free meditation. And this is also something that you need to get creative with, because creativity will add to your positive energy bank. So don't feel like it has to be one way or the other, or don't feel like you have to do the whole meditation. Certain parts of it may be more beneficial to you depending on where you are and where your energy is at and where your emotions are at and what guidance needs to come through for you. So go with that, because this is about learning what needs to happen for you to have not just your daily life stuff, the paying the bill stuff supported. That always needs to be supported anyway. But to also have your growth supported. Because when you can support your own growth, and you have that energy in place, you're going to be able to start nurturing those dream seedlings, those inspirations that come down, those dreams that we know we need to manifest. We know we're going to be able to see that happen. And it will just be a matter of time and loving the necessary hard work. And it won't be struggle, because nobody needs that. All right. I am going to log off for now, but I will be back on Wednesday. And if you want even more guidance and support in forming some of those new goals and intentions throughout the year, I will be in my Thriving in Free Empaths and Intuitives Facebook group, which is free, doing an extra live stream over the week. And I will be doing cards, free card readings in there. So join that group. I guess I should post the link for that too. And I will see all of you loves on Wednesday. So what energy are you going to bring in right now? I will leave you with that question for today.